Hey guys, it's Brindley. That was a little fun getting Facebook ready tonight. So if you see me looking like, ooh, that's probably why. Um, so I say it every week. I'm really, really excited about tonight's topic. Um, I went into the weekend, and I think a lot of us, our weekends are either, I think actually, I think most of our weekends now we're trying to relax. I think a lot of us, I know I'm getting stir crazy. And so I kind of just took this weekend to catch up on some things and then also just to relax. And I got into prayer yesterday and really thought about what what message do I think is important right now for people to hear. And the truth is that, you know, I'm powerless over a lot of things right now. I'm powerless over COVID. I'm powerless over the government. I'm powerless over being able to leave my house. I'm powerless over the fact that I can't see my friends. I'm powerless. I'm powerless over a lot of things. And I don't want tonight's topic to be taken that I don't have empathy for what we're going through right now. Whatever you're feeling, if you're feeling sadness, if you're feeling mad, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling happy, all of your feelings are valid. What we're going to talk about tonight, though, is the power of choice. Because no matter how powerless I am, and even when I'm powerless over all of these things, I still have the power of choice. And once I started learning that I had the power of choice, I started to feel free again. You know, I had the power of choice the entire time that I was drinking and that I was pretty much destroying my life and those around me. Every day was a choice. It was a choice if I wanted to take a drink. It was a choice if I wanted to go places where I knew good things wouldn't happen. Everything was a choice. And then when I decided to get sober, that was a choice too. And every single day of my life, every minute of my life is made up by a series of choices. And the only thing that I actually have any control over are my choices and the choices that I make, the choices on how I act, how I think, how I behave, how I choose to perceive a situation. I have the power of choice. So I started doing some research for tonight. And do you know that the average person, and I don't know how they came up with this research, guys, but I looked and validated it in like 4 or 5 different places. The average human makes 35,000 choices a day. That's 2,000 choices an hour that you're making. So 35,000 choices a day. So think about the power behind the choices that we make. If we're making 35,000 of them a day. And something I learned early on is that you're allowed to change your mind. And so tonight I give you permission to change your mind. You're allowed to make choices and realize that maybe that wasn't the best choice and I need to go back and I need to change my mind. One of the things I learned early on in recovery was to listen to my intuition. So I started spending time in my intuition. Now, I believe that God speaks to me through my intuition. That's just where I come from. And usually I can map it back. If I didn't listen to my intuition, it pretty much manifested itself what's going to happen. So I'll use a simple example. And this was probably the first time I realized that there was something about my intuition and that I needed that what they were saying was real, right? Is I had this intuition that I shouldn't go to a friend's house one night. There was a group of people, this was probably 4 or 5 years ago. No, probably longer, 6 or 7, because it was right when I got sober. And we were all going to go out and hang out at someone's house. And something in my belly just said, Bryn, don't go. Like, just stay home, relax tonight. You don't need to go just because everyone else is going. And of course, because I have FOMO, major fear of missing out, I went to the party. And I had a horrible time. It just wasn't fun. Everybody was in a bad mood. Like, it just was not a good time. And it was that first moment of, okay, like that's what that intuition feels like. And when I choose to listen to it, a choice, right? I can have the outcome that it predicts, or I can choose, it's an open choice to not listen to it, yet I have to be okay with the consequences that might follow by not listening to it. And 99.9% of the time, my intuition, if I choose to sit and listen to it, is accurate. So a couple of things to think about with choice, and then I'm going to give you some tips on how to make good choices. So new choices lead to change. All choices lead to something new. You have a choice in everything that you do. Now, a lot of times we don't make the choice, or we don't choose to change because it's uncomfortable. It's risky. So we say, I'm not going to make the choice to change, right? Because new choices lead to change. I'm going to stay where I am because it's comfortable and it's less risky. It's less risky. And life is a series of choices. Life is a series of every single choice that we make. And every choice we make carries some sort of consequence, whether it's good, whether it's bad. And choices are compound. So sometimes they depend or they affect others. Yet are we really thinking about our choices and how they're going to affect us now, how they're going to affect us in the future? I know I can go back even as late as 6 months ago and look at, Brindley, that probably was not a great choice. If you would have paused, remember the power of the pause, and taken a moment to think about that choice and weigh my options and then evaluate the consequences, I may have made a different choice. A lot of you may be familiar with the butterfly effect. The butterfly effect is popular, and it states that little choices can hugely impact events in the long run. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you choose not to answer your phone one night. Let's say it rings. What if that phone call was the biggest news that you were ever going to get in your life? Now, you didn't know that, yet that one choice prevented you from actually hearing that great news. Or it could have the adverse effect. What if that call was the last call that you were going to have with someone before they passed? Do you see how important choices are and the choices that we make? And we have the power of the choice. And that's the beauty in all of it. So no matter what the choice is, now I'm not saying answer your phone every time it rings, right? Yet that goes back to that intuition. Your intuition probably told you at that moment to answer the phone, and for some reason you chose for something else to take priority, for something else to be more important than that choice. And so what I want to do for you today is I want to bring awareness to the power of the choice, so that no matter what you're powerless over right now, powerless over your finances, powerless over the news, powerless over your family. I'm sure a lot of you are powerless over your husbands or wives. No matter what you're powerless over, you still have the power of choice, and specifically the power of choice in how you act, how you think, and how you show up to these situations. So here's 3 things that you can do to make good choices. Number 1 is to pause. So the power of the pause. Almost everything that we talk about in some way, shape, or form inside the message is the power of the pause. When I take time to pause, it creates space for me to think. And when I think about things, you get my response. When I don't think about things, you get my reaction. And so if I'm making reactive choices, I'm going to have reactive consequences. If I make responsive choices that are well thought out, I'm going to have responsive consequences. Most likely, I'm going to have more positive consequences. So number 1, pause. Take the power of the pause. And the power of the pause can be a minute, or it can be 3 months. Nobody says that you have to make a choice right now. Remember, the power of the choice is yours. You just have to be willing to deal with whatever consequences are going to come, good, bad, ugly, and different, by you having that power. So how you use that power is super important. Number 2, weigh your options. So after you've paused and you've had the power of the pause, stop and weigh your options. What choices do you have? What are your options? What can you do? You know, and there's a great model for that. What can you do? What will you do? Right? So what can you do? What are you willing to do? So weighing your options, weighing the choices you have. And then number 3, evaluate. Evaluate the consequences that come with each of those choices. So break those choices down and ask yourself, if I make this choice, here are the outcomes, the possible outcomes that could happen. And then remember, going back to acceptance, lean in and accept the worst consequence that could come. And if you can't lean in and accept the worst consequence, then that's probably not the choice that you're most in alignment with, and most likely not the choice you want to make. Because we have to be in alignment with everything. So by taking the power of the pause, using the pause to weigh our options, and then evaluating our consequences to each of those options, we can learn to make better choices and use the power of choice in our favor. You know, John Maxwell says, who's one of my mentors, life is a matter of choices, and every choice you make makes you. Life is a matter of choices, and every choice you make makes you. And remember, success, when we talk about success and choice, success equals the sum of all the choices that you make. And, you know, all of our mentors teach us, you know, Gary teaches, this is a marathon, not a sprint. You're on a journey. There's no destination. I always say, as morbid as it sounds, the only destination is 6 feet under, and I'm not ready to go there. I'm not in a hurry to get there. So remember that success equals all the choices that you're making. So I just challenge you this week, if you're looking for something to journal about your choices. How are you using your power of choice to make positive choices for your life right now, to overcome some of those things that you may be powerless over? So if you have any questions, reach out. You can find me on Facebook. You can comment on this. Cell 727-512-9098. I love you guys, and have a great week. Bye-bye.